Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today we are doing impressions of two Arcform knives that came to me via the pass around. And they both came together, so I'm going to review them together because I did the unboxing together. Because I feel like they're set. And we'll just kind of take them as a pair together. And I think they're just pretty cool for that. So let's get into this. These knives are, the manufacturer, or let me rephrase that. The designer is Arcform. And they're the ones who designed the knife and made them. And the first knife here is called the Theory. This one right here is the Theory. And then the second one is the Sabre. All right, so we can talk about each one of these. So I'm going to put the Sabre off to the side, and we'll start off with the Theory first. So the Theory is a pretty cool little knife. It is, it's got unique thumb studs. It's titanium scales, got a nice big rounded back spacer, kind of that crowned kind of spine, if you will, rounded there. So that's kind of cool. Some nice jimping up here. It does have some sharp corners, and that's pretty typical of Arcform from what I've experienced. Even the clip is a little sharp here. It does go in and out nicely. It's nice and rounded underneath, but it's, you know, it's a very futuristic, very kind of aggressive, crisp design. So if that speaks to you, you're going to dig that. You're really going to dig that. But that is a titanium scales. These are the thumb studs, and they work. They work relatively well, right? And it is a frame lock, and so it does flip well. Now it's a little bit on the bigger side, so to use these thumb studs, they're out a little bit. So you got to be careful not to, you know, you can easily not give the right engagement. Like, you see how I'm doing that? So I've got to make sure I'm a little bit higher, a little bit closer to it. If I'm a little too far away, it's almost easy to fail. But if I get a little closer to it and push down a little harder, it's a more like a assertive and confident kind of deployment, I think. It does lock up nice, good 50%. I think that's really cool. Frame lock works really well. The cutout on the frame lock for tuning is on the inside. I love that. I wish more people would do that. That's just outstanding. I know it you know, you might have a little warpage there because that's where it bends, but I think that just is so much better. It's not as aggressive, and they don't have to worry about, you know, rounding all that stuff out, and I think it's cool. That's just my thing. It's M390 blade steel. You can see that right there. It is black PVD coated. It looks like black stonewash too. The jimping is really aggressive on the back of the scales here and on the blade. You can choke up here. Certainly choke up. It'd be more like a triggered choke up, so you gotta be careful. You can go up there. You can definitely pinch grip all day long. You can do a nice choke up here. I have large hands, and this gives me plenty of room, so that's kind of cool. Again, it's got aggressive corners, but it is chamfered all the way around. The chamfering is very intentional, right? And it's a little rounded up here. There is an edge, but it's nicely rounded, and that kind of gets away from that edge so it doesn't become an issue and dig into you. So I appreciate that. I really do. I do appreciate that. Looks like T8s all the way around, except for that's a T6, obviously. It's a hidden screw in the clip, which I believe is probably a long screw that goes around here, goes through that. When you close it, the action's nice on the cage bearings. The blade to handle ratio is not ideal. This is a much longer handle than the blade. So if that bothers you, that's going to be an issue, right? But once you open it, it kind of works. It looks like it fits together and it looks proportioned because the blade is much thicker and that's thinner, so it kind of gives it a balanced look to it. And I like that. I like that a lot. The frame lock gives it nice and solid. There's no sharpness there, which I was expecting that to be. If you go real over here on the edge, it's a little bit, but really where you're worried about it, it's not bad. At least I can't tell. So that's kind of cool. All right. An aggressive, is this a sheep's foot? Is this a Warncliffe? Is it a reverse Tonto? Is it a drop point? I don't know what you want to call this. Do they have a name for this? Do they say what the name of their blade shape is? Because I would just call it a modified something, right? I'm sure there's something in there. Let's see here. Brian Keys is the designer. It looks like that's what this one is. The manufacturer for this knife is Riot Knives, so that's cool. And so Brian Keys is the designer. All right, I found it. I just learned that from the website. Gosh, it's hard to read some of these websites. They get very creative sometimes, and then you don't realize that, hey, there's an important piece of information, right? I like it. I like it. Now let's see here. 80 milling. There's no weight relief on this scale, so they're pretty solid. It does give it a kind of a weight to it, kind of a heft to it. That is interesting for sure. Yeah, so the materials are nice. The closing is really nice. Now, when you do close here, when you drop it, there's really not an easy place to catch it. So if I'm going to drop it, I want to drop it all the way up here at the very tip. You see that? So I can catch on the finger troll. If I go down here, it's going to be a guillotine and cut my finger. So if you're going to be doing one of these, you know, not looking away kind of close, make sure you're up really really, really tight to the very tip there, try to catch that. That could kind of work, right? Otherwise, you're going to have to do a close where you do that and then turn it. You know, and for some people, that's fine. That's how they maybe do it. Like if I do it left-handed, I'm always doing it that way, left-handed, right? Because that's just how I have to do it, left-handed. Now, I can left-handed reverse flick. It does work pretty well. The pressure on here is not terrible. I can easily reverse flick. I do appreciate that. I really do like that. Now, you did notice that there doesn't seem like any other options. Do we have the bonus flick? We do. You have the middle finger bonus reverse flick. So you can go down low and flick it. And it works pretty well, especially with this black coating on there. I tend to have pretty good grip. It doesn't slip as much as like a satin finish. Now, this jimping goes all the way up here. And can I front flip it? You can. It's not smooth. It's not easy. It's definitely, I would say you want to do a little wrist action because it would rip your thumb up a bit if you're not used to it. It's along the lines of a shaman, right? When you front flip a shaman, it's very similar to that. And you kind of do your flicking there. Can I do it left-handed? Let's see. It's got to get a nice spot. Yeah, I can do it. It's just not something I would do all day long because after a while it kind of grate on my fingers and you know, it'd be like a cheese grater and it'd be uncomfortable. So there you go. The opening, closing, pretty cool. Material is pretty cool. We'll do a weight measurement in just a second. So I'm going to put this off to the side. So let's go ahead and look at the Sabre. Okay, so the Sabre is Ultem. Definitely materials. Ultem is very different. There is a, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we can zoom in. There's a little micro texturing that's going on there. You can see that, which kind of gives it a little texture. It's not super slippery. So that's always a benefit. I think that's kind of cool. So you don't feel like you're going to lose it. You have a deep pocket carry clip here as well. It is recessed with recessed screws, so that's nice, but it is a steel clip. Now, I don't know if this could take a, you know, like a Lynch clip or something. That would be cool to know. I don't know what would fit on that one. I'm not sure if there's a standard size for that. These are T8s as well, which I think is pretty darn stinking cool. I like that. Now, I think the clip is T6, if I remember correctly. I do think that. Wait, are these? I think they're, I'm telling you, it's T8s. I think maybe it was T6s. I feel like I got to be honest with about that. Let's see. Oh, it is T6s. Sorry, guys. Yeah, T6s. So those are all T6s. Whereas I said over here, these are T8s, and they are absolutely T8s. So it's a little more premium. This is a $310 knife, as opposed to this knife right here. This is a $185 knife. So you're looking at a, you know, over $100 in difference, right? I mean, more premium materials. So, you know, $310, and then you're looking at $185, which is, it's not cheap, but it's still premium because it is CPM 20 CV blade steel. So it's a nice steel. It's not like a 14C28N or D2 or 154CM. It's a nicer steel. I don't know if there's more because it's using the Ultem. Ultem shouldn't cost more. Ultem is not, to me, I don't see it as more expensive than G10. I really don't. Now, is it a little more brittle? Do they have more issues where it could break? Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, there is that. You know, it's kind of like if you drop Ultem, it can crack. As opposed to G10, it just kind of gets a ding into it. So there you go. Now, black on the Ultem, it's not always my favorite. I prefer the raw finish with the Ultem. I think it pops a little better. The black kind of looks, I don't know, it makes the yellow not look as bright. And if I'm going to do Ultem, I want to see the yellow. I want it to be the color that it was meant to be, or just be smoky. And then that's different, right? Now, it is a liner lock on this one. It does engage at a good 50%. There's a little detent ball on there. It's pretty nice. Now, the thing about that liner lock is the first time I do it, I forget that it's a little tight, or I just don't quite get my finger in there because it's a smaller knife. It's not necessarily a bigger knife. I have large hands. I can choke up, get a little more room for extra large, but really more comfortable it's going to be right there, and that's right at my limit between large and extra large hands. Ultem steel liners, you can see there's cutouts, weight reliefs in there, and the thing about Ultem with black, you can see if there's oil in there, it does kind of stand out. I like the clip. The clip is pretty robust, pretty nice, solid. It's rounded, so it's not going to dig in anywhere. That's cool. Everything is rounded here. This is much more comfortable in hand, honestly, than the Theory. And that's why I like the Sabre. I still love the nice swedge on here. This swedge is pretty stinking cool. I always like a swedge because that really makes it a very utilitarian knife. It makes you be able to turn, do cuts in thicker cardboard, thicker paper, because that's the idea of a swedge, right? You want to be able to turn that cut, and that if that very point, that spine is perfectly square, it's harder, it's going to be more force pushing that way. But if it's cut out a little bit, you can turn that easier because this is angled there, right? It allows it like a boat to turn with a rudder. So anyways, nice pokey tip. It's great for getting into dog food, cat food, fertilizer, mulch, cat litter, cases of water, Christmas presents, Amazon boxes, all that sort of stuff. Beautiful tip. It does get pretty thin, so I wouldn't use that. Be careful with the prying. It is 20 CV, so it should be okay. This one here is made by the manufacturer. It says Arcform. So I'm not sure what that means. I didn't know Arcform did their own stuff. So if this one is an Arcform in-house design, cool. I don't know where they make it then. Or maybe it's a, now the only thing about this, yeah, it's a little tight. This liner lock is a little tight, and I would definitely be tuning this if this was my knife, because it's really, really tight for the reverse flick. And I want to be able to reverse flick, especially that thumb hole. And that thumb hole, it shouldn't be that hard. Now, I would say, I'm gonna guess here, even Kevin from Lefty EDC, he would say this is a strong detent, because it is, it feels strong, for a thumb hole for sure. Now, nice cutaway, nice chamfering on the lock bar, easy to get to. This is what I would say is more comfortable. Not this one, I had another knife that was really uncomfortable. It was hard to get to. It hurt my finger, and I love when that's nice weight relief, nice cut there. Again, nicely rounded. I like the Ultim steel blade, really nice. The black PVD is cool. So there you go, that's the materials. The closing is nice. It is cage bearings. Would like for that to be not as strong, and if this was my knife, I would tune it, probably put Skiffs in there. That would make this beautiful, right? When you do drop it, it can catch about right there, but you got to clear that little spot right there. And once you clear it, it could catch there. So to me, you know, this could be a guillotine, a cut, you know, could cut you. So you got to be careful with this knife. Got to make sure when you're closing it, you don't cut yourself. But it's not a super heavy blade, so the chances to me, oh man, our chances are less. It's so tight there, man. This just makes it not as enjoyable, right? So I think that's okay. Nice and dead centered, so that's good. A full Ultim back spacer, which is cool. No lanyard hole, which I don't think there's a lanyard hole on either, which I don't mind either. By the way, did I say, yeah, chamfered cutaway, nice, easy, great access for the lock bar, not exhausting at all over here. The only thing, like I said, for this one, just got to make sure you catch it high so you don't get cut. This is a heavier blade for sure. So there you go. That's the materials, opening and closing it. All right, so we did all of that. So let's talk about the weights of the two. So let's get our scale out here. I'm gonna guess this is 4.75 ounces, maybe 5. Okay, 4.9 ounces. So 4.9 ounces, it's a pretty heavy blade. And then what do we got? This one. This one's gonna feel like maybe 2.9, I don't know. 3 ounces. So I'm close, about 3 ounces. So that's 3 ounces. Very cool. So we got 3 ounces and we got 4.9. So, I mean, significant difference in weight between the two, right? You would expect, quality of knife and everything. All right, so let's measure these. All right, so the first one we've got here, we're gonna go to the tip, to the back. We're looking at a knife that's about 8 1/8 of an inch. So it's definitely over 8 inches. The overall handle, if you do the regular grip, about 4 if you use this little cutoff part. If you do choke up a little bit here, you can get about almost 4.5, just 4 1/3. Definitely gets you to that larger hands, extra large hands could definitely use that one. So that is nice. Over here, we're looking at a blade that is overall, it's just over 7 inches. So this one is about an inch shorter. So you're looking at about 7 and I want to say maybe 1/4 of an inch, 7 1/4, right? The overall handle area that we are using is about 3.5, 3 5/8 maybe, 3 5/8. You could sort of choke up a little bit here. It might give you 3 1/4. No, you know, it's kind of tight. All right, overall blade length from the tip to the back over here. And by the way, let me show you. Large hands over here. I have a little room. I think extra large. Once you get to double extra large, you're definitely going to be doing 3.5 fingers. Just something to keep in mind, right? Overall, the blade length from the tip to the very back, you're looking at about 3.5 inches. Overall cutting length on this one is going to be about 3.5 inches. So the same over here. Let's see, what do we got? We have about, from the tip there, it's about 3 1/8 of an inch. The overall cutting length on this one is going to be 3 1/4 inches. Are they both 3 1/4 inches? No, 3.5. All right, so it's got about an extra 1/4 of an inch cutting length. Interesting. All right, so this one right here, we'll do the see what the blade stock thickness is on that one, and then that one. All right, so let's see. M390, 20 CV. So that's what we got going on there. I just want to make sure it's even. I want to get the feel for how hard I close it, right? So this one is 139 thousandths of an inch, or 0.139 inches. It's a pretty thick blade. It's not super thin, right? So then this one over here is 126 thousandths of an inch, or 0.126. So that's about an average thickness of most EDC knives nowadays, about 0.12 inches, 120 thousandths of an inch. So it's not bad, not bad. All right, so let's talk about the two knives. All right, so this one's running $310. It's definitely in the low high-end range. So it's over $300. It's definitely gonna be a high-end range. This one's $189. It's definitely in the middle of the regular budget. It's a little over 1/2, but it's definitely solidly in the regular area. So this is a more affordable knife. This is gonna be a little more premium knife, obviously more premium materials. EDC, I think they're both really nice EDC knives. Now, a couple of things that for me that would make this interesting, some of the sharp corners for me would distract me from being able to use this as a big EDC knife. But here's the thing, knives like this, if you love the aesthetic and you just dig the shape, you're gonna love this, right? I admit, I have a few knives that I think I dig the shape of, and it's probably what draws me to the knife more than anything else, and I'm willing to overlook some things. And I think that's the true with Arcform, because the Arcform Darkform, I love the shape of that one. Only thing I had with that one, I actually bought one. I had to return it because it was missing one of the pivot screws, and that would have totally ruined the knife. And I didn't have a replacement, so and when I wanted it was all blacked out. But then I also found out the fuller was not functional, and that to me was a real bummer. Don't give me a fuller if I can't use it. Now, I say that with a hard rule, but I have a mini Adamas that has a fuller I can't use. So I obviously don't mean it. I just mean it. I guess it was more because I always expected, it's a knife that I looked at for years and I wanted to get and finally decided to pull the trigger and I got it. And I was so disappointed I couldn't use the fuller. But that was because the fuller was sort of there and looked like it could be used, but it wasn't. The Adamas, the fuller was always hidden and you'd never see it. So, take it for a grain of salt, whatever. You can agree to disagree with me. You can think I'm an idiot. That's fine. It's okay. Right. So I say this is definitely going to be in the higher end. So this is definitely going to be a standard. Now, EDC use, absolute EDC use, absolute EDC use. Hard use for what this is a frame lock. Yeah, I think so. Now, can you go cutting logs and things like that? I wouldn't do that. Get a fixed blade, get an axe, right? That's my recommendation to you. Can you do hard use for this one? Yes. For a liner lock, with Ultim scales, yeah. But would I go chopping and doing crazy things? No, I wouldn't. But it could be hard use, a lot of cardboard, a lot of work like that. Yeah, I think so. This one's going to be a little more comfortable, I think, in hand to do that. This one might, after a while, start to be a little more uncomfortable after a while with some of the corners there if you're doing a lot, unless you have gloves. I think this would be a much better workhorse for long term, in my opinion. Are they collection pieces? I think that's absolutely a collection piece. That could be a collection piece depending on your aesthetics. If you love Ultim, like, Tri-State EDC, he loves Ultim. So he's absolutely going to love that. I'm not a fan. I could take it or leave it. I haven't found any Ultim yet that I go, ooh, I got to have that. Yet to find it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it's yet to happen to me, right? I typically go for the plain titanium or maybe the blacked out. Those are the things that draw me. I like the darker carbon fibers, kind of where my thing is, right? But I'm open. I'm open to seeing some kind of cool combination. I'm never saying no to it. It's just hasn't called me out yet. So there you go. Ergos and Field. Ergos is pretty good on this. I will admit, they're pretty good. I just know if you're gonna make this a hard use, this is gonna be like your one knife you can use all the time. I point some of these things out. I think those are important if that's the case, right? You could get past all of that, depending on your hands, your ergos and everything. I think that could absolutely get past all that and it could be like no big deal. But I just pointed out just in case it is. So just know that, okay? I think all of those are possible to get past. This one here, the overall design, it's more comfortable. It really is. It's smaller, so if you have large hands, you might not like that. But I think for EDC and comfort and everything, this is really nice. I do like that a lot. I would tune this liner lock though. It's really, really tight. It's pretty strong. Typically, liner locks are not this strong, right? And this one is especially strong. But, if you like really strong detents, you're going to love it, right? If you're like me and you don't necessarily love the super strong detent, you definitely want to tune it. Or probably most of the other knives are going to be a little lighter, I'm sure. All right, so opening and closing for the design. Both of them were open, close well. They work really nicely. Great access to the lock bar. It does work. The reverse flick, the thumb hole works really nice. This one doesn't really have any bonus flick. It's just a fuller, and that's it. This one here, access is really nice. You can do a little bonus flick with the blade. I like that. You can do a little bonus front flip. I like that. So that definitely gives you some extra. So there you go. So fidget factors. The fidget factor on this one is definitely, I'm going to give that one because of all the bonus, I'm going to give this one a 6. This one's going to get a 6. This one's going to get a, let me do it one more time. Do the left. Okay, so if I don't account for the liner lock, if I don't account for how tight that is, and I wouldn't have to tune it. Like if this, I owned it and I fixed it, I know it would be way better. I'm gonna give this one a 3. This one's gonna get a 3 because this works really well. The thumb hole is really nice. It's nice and accessible. It's big size. You can do the medium finger. You can do your nail. All that stuff works really well. Just that liner, that liner lock is solid, man. It's solid. Whew, this is like Kevin detentish. And I know he would love that. Left-handed, right-handed works just great. It's that left-handed detent that's just crazy tight. I mean, it's strong on the right hand. Mind you, I'm getting a nice snap every time, okay? Now, it doesn't sound like a nice snap because it's, you know, Ultim and it's steel liners. You're not hearing the full metal, you know, reverberation that you hear when it's all metal and the sound waves dispel through the solid of the steel, right? That tends to amplify it a little bit, where that tends to nullify it a little bit or dull it. So you don't hear it as strong, but it's a solid deploy. Yeah, so the fidget factor on this one, so let me go back here. So the fidgety goodness on this one, out of this 6, I'm gonna give this one, I'm gonna give it a 90. It's going to be a solid A-. And the reason why is because these thumbs set up here, sometimes I miss them, right? And because they're so far out. I wish they were just a little bit lower, but I get with the blade shape. Somebody pointed out this would make a great knife for a Spidey hole. And I put that hole on this one, this would be money. Yeah, I agree. This would be absolute money. Now I get these are kind of cool, you know, thumb holes and everything, but make this a Spidey hole, that could be 100 easily. I think that would be serious money. That would just be gorgeous, right? But the thumb studs are kind of cool. They're different, definitely unique. I like it. But yeah, this one, I'm going to give this one a good, okay, because of the way the detent is right now, it would be like an 85. It'd be a solid B+. But if I know I could tune the detent, make it just what I want, this could be a 95. This would be a solid A. I would give it a 95, okay? So I'm going to go over to the auspice that I know I could tune this, make this perfect. If it was mine, if I was bringing it to my collection, this would be a solid A. It wouldn't be an A+. Very few knives get that, but when they do, they're really outstanding, right? This one right here is not bad. It's not bad as well. I think it's going to be good. So I think because of the way the thumb studs are right now, what did I say I was going to do? I think I was going to do an A-, a 90. This was going to be a 90, right? This one would be a 95. Now, if the detent had to stay like this and the liner lock, I couldn't fix it or anything like that, then this would be an 80. It would be a B-. It would absolutely be a B- right now because it's just left-handed. It's very unusable. You have to get just the right angle, just the right point. You can't be tired, and you have to be ready to really go, or you're going to fail, right? So that's what I'm going to say as far as fidgety goodness. Overall thoughts: do I recommend these knives? I'm absolutely recommending this one. I think it's really cool. I think if the aesthetics speak to you, you're going to love it. If you're okay with the thumb studs, you're going to love it. If the thumb studs are just too wild and wacky and you don't like that, you might not like it. But I would recommend it. This is not bad. I don't hate this. I actually at one point almost thought of buying this. But after someone pointed out a Spidey hole there would look great, I think if I was to acquire this, I would love the next version to have a spider hole. Then I would be all in. I'd be all in. This one right here, I like. I wish it was a different material than Ultim. Quite frankly, not a big fan of the Ultim. You know, I don't hate it. I just not a giant fan. And the tuning here, I just wish that was a little bit better. If it was my knife, I would fix it. But again, it's a pass around. I can't mess with it. So I'm going to respect that. I'm going to leave it as is, the way I got it. I'm going to send it out. So, but yeah, I would recommend. I'm kind of on the fence. Okay, I'm actually going to recommend this based on the fact that I can tune the detent. I can tune the liner lock. I'm going to recommend it. If I knew I couldn't do that, it would be, I wouldn't recommend against it, but I wouldn't recommend it, okay? But I'm going to recommend it because I think this knife has so much potential once you tune that detent. Now, for some people, this detent is perfect and you're going to love it, and this is great. And if you like super crazy strong detents, this is going to be 100 for you. You're just be like, you're going to be just excited, right? You know, salivating at the mouth, right? But for me, for what it can be, I think it's going to be great, and I'm definitely going to recommend it. So these are my 2 thoughts on these knives, both recommended. One a little more than the other. One I think would be a collection keeper as opposed to a collection killer. You know, you have a CK, collection keeper, collection killer. This would be a collection keeper if it got a hole. It has a couple things that are collection killer. The thumb studs would be like, I would love it and everything, but after a while, if I was here and I did that too often, that becomes a collection killer, right? Those are things that just become a problem, especially when I need the knife, right? This as well, if I couldn't tune this left-handed detent and I was up here and I couldn't get that open, be a collection killer, right? That would just frustrate me. But I think, you know, a newer version of this or a different version or different design with that hole would just be rocking. So if Arcform happens to look at this, I'm a small channel. I get they may not care about me, and I get that, and I totally understand that, which is fine. You know, until the channel grows to a certain size, you know, you're just a guy who likes knives and review knives, and you know, a few people kind of relate to you, and they kind of appreciate your thoughts on it because you're trying to be as honest as you can and give your thought and your perspective, perhaps, which some people might not do once they become kind of part of the system, right? You know, once you get in there and people, you know, you get people to send stuff to you. You want to help those relationships. You know, I've already learned that I can burn those bridges pretty well. I've reviewed some knives, some big knife manufacturers that I wish I hadn't bought the knife and given it the honest review that I did, because I feel like those doors might never open again for me. So we'll see. Hopefully that's not the case. Maybe I just got a couple of duds, and maybe everything else, if I get a chance to buy another one, it'll change. But these guys I like. I do. I dig them. But I don't think they're going to be watching this. But, you know, there's my thoughts on it, my recommendations, you know, things that I would love to see in the future. But I think they're cool. Hey, if you found my content fun, interesting, or worthwhile, would you please consider hitting that like button down below? And if you've already hit that like button, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel. It allows the channel to grow, to become bigger, to do more things, ultimately more things for you guys. So thank you. Thank you. Especially to you guys who watch the videos, who like, who subscribe. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you. I appreciate you, really. And if you've done all that, maybe hit that notification button so you can be notified of future content. And finally, to all my channel members out there, a big thank you, a big shout out. You know who you are, and I appreciate you. You guys are instrumental in allowing this channel to grow, to do so many things. You know, when I get a chance to check these knives out, there's cost, shipping, there's all sorts of stuff that's involved. Doing stickers, doing all these giveaways. I appreciate you guys. You're very instrumental in allowing me to do things that can help the channel and get other people excited about it. So I appreciate you guys. And for any of you who are on the fence and you thought, hey, I might like to become a channel member, I would love to have you. Don't feel obligated, but I would love to have you. Now, just to let you know, if you are a channel member, decide, hey, I want to become a channel member, or think about it in the future. If you've never gotten a sticker from me before, email me with your first and last name and your address. I will ship out a sticker to you. Give every member a sticker. And also, there's a members giveaway. Once a month, we do a members giveaway. So just know that as well. And then finally, if you're some of the top tiers, you get a little extra content. If you're the top tier, you get a super cool holographic sticker. I save those for those Uber nerds. But I just want you to know that's my way to say thank you. It's a small thing. It doesn't amount to much monetarily, but it's meaningful for me. It's something I put effort into, designing, doing those things, going out of my way to say thank you and things like that. I just want you to know you matter and you're important, and I appreciate you. So thank you. Hey, if you haven't already, maybe check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.